Okay, I think everyone is joined, so we can go ahead and kick things off. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us for this session, the Grow Your Own Talent and Apprenticeship 101. This is going to be, we've got a great panel today. Ken Warden with UAFS is going to be our moderator and go through the questions and everything. If anyone has any questions that they would like for the panelists, please submit those through the chat. You don't have to turn on your cameras, but you're welcome to. Our panelists, we do encourage you to have your cameras on, but please have your microphones muted. And again, if you have questions, just submit those through the chat. I'll be monitoring those and kicking those over to Ken. As we go through, we will stop for questions. So again, thank you all for joining, and I'm going to turn it over to Ken.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Growing Your Own Talent Apprenticeship 101. Special thanks to Lindsay and the Chamber for pulling this together, working with us, and for the time they're spent this week valuing manufacturing in our community through, National Manufacturing Day, but we have Manufacturing Week, so it's a big deal for us. My name is Ken Warden. For those of you I don't know, I'm the Dean of the College of Applied Science and Technology at the University of Arkansas Fort Smith. I'm going to briefly introduce our contributors today and panelists, and then they'll give us a little more information about them as they come into the program. Just a bit of housekeeping. If you're not speaking, please mute yourselves and remain muted until we call on you, or if you do have a question, we'll have time for a Q&A at the end, hopefully. Lindsay's going to be monitoring the chat, so if you have themes or you have questions or you want something to address as one of our speakers are speaking, place those in the chat, and then we'll address those as we move along. We do not have any PowerPoint slides today or anything like that we plan to share screen with at this time, unless some of our panelists do. You can toggle your screen from speaker view to gallery view up in the top right of the Zoom for those of you who aren't familiar, so just kind of make yourselves comfortable there. You don't need to raise your hand to go to the bathroom in Zoom meetings, so if you need to take care of something, just go ahead and take care of that. We don't even need to know. So anyway, with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to start by introducing a few of our special guests today. A few from our team at UA Fort Smith: Miss Amanda Seidenzahl, Director of the Regional Workforce Grants; Mr. Kendall Ross, our Director of the Center for Business and Professional Development; and Mr. Cameron McKinney, one of our esteemed faculty members who leads one of our apprenticeships on campus. Joining us today from ABB, Mr. Jason Green. From Nestle Gerber, we have Miss Lori Hayes and Mr. Jim Hudspeth. I think Jim may be off video, but that's okay. And then we were expecting a student apprentice to be with us today, Paul Routhier. I'm not sure if Paul is logged in yet or not, but we will circle back. So just a brief definition of apprenticeship. So apprenticeship means a lot of things to a lot of different people. So for today's session, we're going to define apprenticeship broadly. Not an internship, not something that someone does as part of a class necessarily or a capstone project, but an apprenticeship where we are working with on-the-job training in a significant way in a significant number of hours, and where there is an official educational component, not necessarily for academic credit. So historically, apprenticeships and academia didn't really go along. Those were two separate things. But there are some nuances and changes, and there's nothing that says that those things can align. And at UA Fort Smith, we are committed to these, and we are looking for ways to enhance these moving forward. So apprenticeships for our conversation today is broadly defined. It's not an internship, but it's an on-the-job training component coupled with an educational component that may or may not go on a college transcript or a high school transcript or anything other. So that's where we're going to start today. I want to start by asking Miss Amanda Seidenzahl to talk a little bit about youth apprenticeship. So Amanda, please tell us a little bit about youth apprenticeship and what you have going.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Amanda Seidenzahl, Director of our Regional Workforce Grants at UA Fort Smith. I work primarily with 10th through 12th grade students, and so this is an opportunity for our students who are currently earning concurrent credit to also be able to learn how to put that into place in the different environments they may work in. So it gives them some real life work experience along with that. We have 3 programs in our regional workforce grant. We have our electronics technology robotics, which is really where we've housed our youth apprenticeship right now. We also have an IT component and then an unmanned aerial systems component. We also partner with our Western Arkansas Technical Center. So those are juniors and seniors that are also taking concurrent credit classes on our campus. The regional workforce grant is actually out at their high school. So they never leave their high school campus taking those classes. We started we're in our 2nd year, so about 2 years ago, working and partnering with ABB to pilot a program. And then this year we were fortunate enough to have Gerber join us for this year. We really, so this is an unregistered program. This is not a DOL registered apprenticeship, but we kind of align with some of the same things. So our students start taking classes either in the 10th or 11th grade. They have the opportunity during their junior year to apply for this program. It is competitive. We do not take every student. They go through an application process. And then those students would start in June after their junior year. We do have a few that have graduated and joined us, but primarily our juniors in high school. So they have some college credit. They're taking some classes, particularly along an electronics technology pathway, taking some robotics, things like that, PLC applications, industrial electricity. So they have a background, they have a knowledge to start with before they ever enter the program. We do about 8 weeks in the summer that is half classroom training and then half in the plant training. So we have an instructor who meets with those students in the morning. It did look a little bit different this past year with COVID. We had to do some virtual training, but those students learned a lot of employability skills. This is the first time many of them are actually working, having an actual job where they have to report. So we've talked a lot about what that looks like, accountability, things like that. We also do some industry certifications. So OSHA 10 is a big one. Last summer, we were able to get in some Lean Six Sigma. So those students went all the way through a green belt. This year, we weren't able to do that, but we're having some opportunities next semester for those students to pick up a little bit of that skill set that they missed. And then, so that's about 4 hours each day, Monday through Friday. And then in the afternoons, they actually go to their work assignment. Every student is paired with a mentor at the plant that they're assigned to or that accepted them. This is a paid program, so we do expect those students to be paid for their time, both in the classroom and out at your facility. And there's a wide range of what those students are doing. So this was intended to be a training program and an opportunity for those students to really understand how what they're learning in the classroom connects into a work assignment. So some of the components in the summer are more training based, some of them are more project based, where they're working alongside a technician in your facilities. And then in the academic year, we shift to an afternoon, Monday through Thursday, where they're just in your facility. So they're taking college classes in the afternoon on our campus, and then they go on to work with your facility in the afternoon for about 3 hours, Monday through Thursday. Still giving them that experience. They're able to delve a little bit deeper into their work assignment. And that's really how we've set our youth apprenticeship program up to be a training program to parlay what they're learning in our classroom to what they're doing in the real world. Ken, anything you want to add? You're muted.
2020 phrase of the year, you're on mute. So, no, that's great, Amanda. Thank you for that. We'll come back as others may have questions as we move along. So here to talk a little bit about our adult apprenticeship program, which is a Department of Labor registered apprenticeship, Mr. Kendall Ross. Kendall?
Thanks, guys. Kendall Ross, if I've not met you guys, Kendall Ross, Director of the Center for Business and Professional Development. So for our adult multi-craft apprenticeship program, that is a registered Department of Labor program. I think the thing about us here at UAFS, we understand the value of work-based learning, whether it's high school students or even those employed in the workforce now. And our goal really is to help those students really reach their educational goals and their career goals, whether that be a registered DOL program or even roll that into an associate's degree or maybe even a bachelor's degree. So we have all of those options available. For the adult apprenticeship program, we're looking at more than 500 hours of classroom instruction over a 4-year period, or for a 2-year period, and then 8,000 hours of on-the-job training. So these adults are employed at local companies. Currently, we have participating Pradco, Ream, I'm trying to think through all those, Owens Corning, Becker, Simmons, Weldon Williams, and Lick. They're all participating in our adult program. The great thing about the adult apprenticeship program is it's sponsored by the Arkansas Office of Skills Development. So consequently, employers can see a reimbursement of the training for typically it's 75% of the cost. And so the way that program works is someone's employed and they enroll in our apprenticeship program. Then the Arkansas Office of Skills Development reimburses the local Fort Smith Manufacturing Executive Association, and then they cut checks, and we send those checks out to the employers to reimburse them for their expenses. So really, you're getting training on the job skills training at about a 25% cost to you, which is really great. Most of our graduates, once they graduate, can see things like an increase in salary, advancements, a lot of promotions. We see a lot of that. And typically these graduates earn somewhere between $18 and $32 an hour. So, I mean, it's a great, great program. And as far as topics, you're looking at OSHA training. All of the graduates will have an OSHA 30 card. Fundamentals of industrial electricity, industrial motor systems, welding, machine shop, PLC, fluid power, machine setup. We even do setup reduction, and so we do a lot of that, as well as advanced motor controlling, electrical troubleshooting, all of that. And so that is typically hands-on in the classroom. And of course, again, with COVID, we've made some changes to that. We've made a little bit of that virtual. We're hoping to see COVID move out of the way here really soon so we can just do a whole lot more of hands-on. So that's kind of an overview of what our adult apprenticeship program looks like.
Thank you, Kendall. Cameron, would you like to add anything to that before we recognize our industry partners and let them speak or ask them to speak?
Sure. So typically what we do with our apprenticeship is it's company sponsored, so we're taking incumbent workers and bringing up long-term employees, typically off production, who pass whatever entrance test the company wants to have. And so it's been working out really well, because I'm sure some of you are aware, maintenance people, they jump around all over the place, not by design, but just because of the necessary, somebody will offer them $3 more an hour over here. And so every company in town is getting into a bidding war on their skilled craftsmen.
Right. And I will say that that's a core tenet of Department of Labor registered apprenticeship. They must be incumbent workers and they must be paid on their work time. And there are some other, nuances with the Department of Labor registered apprenticeships that are kind of requirements. But both of ours, our current apprenticeships are related to electronics, industrial maintenance, multi-craft, because really we know there's a skill gap there. But the model, I think, is very flexible to include other skill sets and other topical areas. So with that said, I want to introduce and recognize Mr. Jason Green with ABB, again, Lori Hayes and Jim Hudspeth with Nestle Gerber. And I want you guys to, I'll start ladies first, Lori, so we'll go with you. But the question is, tell us just a little bit about yourself, your company, describe your interest in apprenticeship, and tell us about any internal challenges you may have had getting Nestle Gerber into apprenticeships, if there were any. So Lori, please.
So Lori Hayes, I am the factory human resource manager. I have been with Gerber about 7.5 years now. I forgot what all you asked me to say, Ken, so I'll ramble a bit. We are a Gerber, right? We're a legacy Gerber plant, so we make Gerber baby food. We make the glass jars, we make the pouches, we make infant cereal, And we also make the aseptic cups, which are the little plastic cups of pureed baby food. So that is us in a nutshell. Why we were interested, for several reasons, and a couple that have already been mentioned. One being it's really tough to find good maintenance folks, and everyone on this call knows that it seems like we fight for talent against one another instead of being able to work together. So the more we can groom talent locally and keep them in our region, the better it is for all of us. And I would say the biggest challenge we had from an HR standpoint is we are doing the youth apprentice. So being able to get our legal team on board with having minors in a manufacturing facility, which ended up being probably less of a challenge than I expected. And thank you to Jason for some of the insight, because we were very prepared going into that argument with some data and some information. So that would be our biggest challenge. Once they came on board, there were obviously challenges with our dear friend called COVID this year. And then we had some internal turnover, which put some other challenges on us, but that was not from a people standpoint or an apprentice standpoint. Anything else you wanted me to share?
You're muted, Ken.
I've got someone looking in my window trying to harass me. Get out of here, Dr. Yu. So anyway, one of the other deans on campus was in here trying to harass me, and he wouldn't leave. So anyway, no, Lori, that's great. I appreciate that. I don't know. I see Jim's on there. Jim from Nestle Gerber, would you like to add anything to that, Lori's comments?
Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Oh, fantastic. Good. Okay.
Kind of barely. You sound awfully distant.
Let me try to modify one thing.
Jim, we've got an audio gap there, so we'll let you take a look at that. Maybe put your comments in the chat box and then come back to you here in a moment. Mr. Green, tell us about yourself and ABB and what interests you have in apprenticeship and challenges you may have had pulling it together.
So hi, everyone. My name is Jason Green. I'm the head of HR at ABB, formerly Baldor Electric Company. And we're like most manufacturers on this call in this region around the country, in that, you know, we're dealing with some of the same workforce challenges. We've got an aging workforce. We've got rapidly changing skill sets. You know, prior to COVID, unemployment just wasn't as solid of a pool of talent as maybe some might think. And so we recognized that in order to really get us to where we want to go from an operational perspective, which is to be much more highly automated and smart connected, we were in a need our workforce to evolve over time and develop new and different skills. So when we looked at our workforce and our sources of talent, we realized that we got talent primarily from one of three places. We got it from ourselves through reskilling and retraining programs. We got it from each other. So especially in the world of industrial maintenance, it's not uncommon for us to pick off talent from each other. And I don't think a youth apprenticeship program will change that, but hopefully it reduces the dependency on that. And then last, but certainly not least, as I mentioned, it was unemployment. And what we realized was the place that we did not get a lot of talent, if any, was from young talent, current high school students, recent high school graduates, early post-secondary graduates. And we had known about apprenticeships, heard about them. Like Gerber, ours is not a registered apprenticeship program, but we wanted to be able to attract students earlier, because quite honestly, they're ready. The students that are out there are really skilled and really talented when it comes to technical career paths. And it kind of goes with what we've seen in the industry. You know, when we were all in school, at least some of us, you know, you really didn't worry about an internship or some kind of real world learning until the summer before your junior or senior year. That threshold keeps, you know, going earlier, meaning that, I think we're all very willing to bring in much younger talent despite not having all the skills and abilities. So if we can give them the skills and abilities at a much younger age and couple it with some real world learning opportunities in our plant, we're in a position to create this kind of deeper fourth pool of talent and do what we're set out to do, which is to really build this pipeline of technically young talent for ourselves, as well as hopefully everybody on this call and all the other manufacturers in the region. So that's why we're participating. This is our second year. Couldn't be more pleased with the process. And again, the talent that's coming from our local school districts in UA Fort Smith. I'll tell you, it's a learning process, much like Lori. We anticipated a number of internal challenges to get our not only our legal team, but our risk management team comfortable with 16, 17-year-olds working in the facility. But quite honestly, it wasn't as hard as we might have anticipated. Certain things we had to follow and certain expectations that just were not negotiable. But again, these students are very mature, very ready, and it's worked out really well. I recall our labor attorney, probably very similar to Lori's, was just be compliant. Don't be not compliant. Just comply with the law, and you'll be fine. And so again, we've got a long-term commitment to this. We've hired several out of our first cohort into part-time regular positions. So this was one thing. I'll finish up with this comment that was real appealing to their parents when they came for their first exploratory meeting. Was, one of three things is going to happen, maybe one of four at the end of this apprenticeship assignment, is they're going to go to work because they're employable at that point. Hopefully they go to work for us. They go on to post-secondary, hopefully UA Fort Smith, to further their skills. Or they do a combination of both. And that's what these two individuals did out of our first group. So we hired two individuals into part-time regular positions. They're working 20 hours a week. Amanda, Ken, I think they're going to school full-time. I think they've got a full-time load. But at 20 hours a week at ABB, they're eligible for benefits. And so they're taking advantage of our tuition reimbursement program. So being able to go to school full-time to further their skills, they may stop at their associate's degree, may go on to a bachelor's. But again, we've got this pipeline of young talent that we've been able to create in partnership with our educational partners. So Ken, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Jason. I think Jim may still be having trouble with audio. I'll give him one chance to jump in here, or as many chances as he needs if we can get his audio worked out. Jim, are you there? You might, if you can't get your audio, Jim, you might type something in the chat box.
Ken, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm using the old technology, the telephone this time, so.
Well, okay, great. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, no, actually, Lori hit the nail on the head. I pretty well echo everything that she said. We've struggled. We continue to struggle with getting the skills trade folks in here. And I like the fact that we're supporting local education, but also ensuring that we kind of keep the trades alive. So other than that, everything that she said, she nailed it.
Ken, I'll add this one comment. Lori and I both work in HR, and we can push these kind of programs all we want. But at the end of the day, if we don't have people like Jim or Johnny McCusker here at ABB or Mila Petrie really buying in and leading these kind of programs, it won't be successful. At the end of the day, it's the business, it's those line managers, it's the leaders in our plants and facilities that will make a difference in the success of this long term.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think once a company sees the fruits of the labor and the fruits of the commitment to these type of processes, the grow your own thing is really something to embrace, particularly with apprenticeships. There was a question in the chat box. Lee Sutherland from Mars says, is there any documentation that can be emailed about the program requirements, processes? Would like to at least read through anything you may have. And I see Cameron and Amanda both responding. So yeah, Lee, just if you'll type your name or your email address in the chat room, or if you're okay with sharing that information or getting it from Lindsay, we can certainly do that. And any other folks that may want more information, just please do that. I'm going to break from our program just a minute here and ask you to do something. Just as a show of hands, click on the reactions buttons, and if you are currently or have been involved with apprenticeship programs, would you please give us a thumbs up? 1, 2, 3. Just going to try to get a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it looks like maybe less than half, I would say. So maybe 30, 40%, just a rough count there. You know, I'm a dean, but I'm not very good with math. I'd have to take my shoes off to count that high. But so, okay, I just wanted to know kind of what level of exposure that we had previously as we move forward. You know, one of the questions in our row of questions today, and I'm keep looking for we had an apprentice scheduled to be with us today, but I think he may have had some last minute things come up. But apprenticeship models are age old. They go back to as far back as we can think, you know, especially in Europe embrace apprenticeship models in a much more robust and different way than what we have in the U.S. And so from our companies out there, or, you know, Lori, Jason, Jim, Cameron, whoever, what about apprenticeships and this age-old model make them relevant today?
Say that again, Ken. What about them makes them relevant?
Yeah, I mean, I know we've had a lot of comments about those things, but this old model, what do you think? What are the likenesses and differences of the model, and why are they so relevant? And is it just that skill gap thing?
Well, I think it's a skill gap. It's a way to help fill it. I think we all agree that we've got to recruit kids to technical careers much earlier than we're doing it today. I think having opportunities like paid apprenticeships is a way to do that. You know, we were at a session in Fort Smith with the Manufacturing Institute this time last year, and there was a ninth grade young lady who already kind of had it on her radar that she wanted to be a youth apprentice. She wanted that opportunity. You know, and without these kinds of opportunities, they don't see those kind of things. I don't know if it's different, but I do think we have gotten away. I think part of it is most educational environments thought, some still think, Stephanie and Amy may chime in on this, that, you know, our role in K-12 is to prepare students for college, when in reality it's to prepare them for a career. It may include a stop through college, but that really needs to be the focus. That may be something that's different. But then last, I just think it's how do we take the classroom, the simulated environment, and couple it with real world learning like we used to. We got away from that for some reason, and I'm glad to see us going back to it.
Well, you know, as a dean, I certainly want to be sure I promote and value higher education and bachelor's degrees and graduate degrees and beyond. And, you know, a lot of the things that we do in higher education don't seem to directly apply to a skill set, a work-ready skill set, but things that are accomplished with communication and working with people that may have even happened in general education classes, where you're surrounded by people who aren't in your major, or where some of those things can be cultivated. But that said, I think we do have to value, you know, these other opportunities. So what do you all see when you hire an apprentice, or what is an advantage someone who has gone through an apprenticeship, what is an advantage to that hire versus someone who may have just had an associate's or bachelor's degree? What are your thoughts on that?
I would say from my standpoint, Ken, that's really about having that hands-on knowledge, right? Having the school knowledge is good and it's valuable, but having the manufacturing floor experience is invaluable. And we all know, everyone on this call knows, some people are made for manufacturing and some people are not. So if they can figure that out while they're in high school, before they determine if they are or are not going to be a college graduate, right? That's just better for everyone, and it just helps them prepare for real life, so to speak. So I think that's one of the biggest advantages.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on Lori's comment. You know, one of the individuals that we had in our first cohort last year, our only young lady, our only female in the group, unfortunately, because we're hoping this is a way in which we can attract more women to the manufacturing industry as well, which is a priority for us. I don't remember how long it was into the program, but this individual, she was dead set on an engineering career path. And this apprenticeship, about halfway through, she said, "This is not for me. This is not what I anticipated. I don't enjoy it. I'd like to finish." And we were good with that because I think it was, you know, good for her personal and professional development and, you know, on her resume and those kind of things. But this opportunity helped her figure out at 17, 18 years old, as opposed to 23, 24, and a whole lot of debt, that a career in engineering or manufacturing just was not for her. So you know, we hated to see that, you know, because I think she really had some potential. But if we can help students with those kinds of learnings as part of the process, I would call that a success as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, sometimes finding where you don't fit can be as important as where you think you do or where you do fit. And so making those decisions without that long-term commitment and without the expense of time and money that go along with it's important. You know, I often say that in education, particularly in our technical certificates and our 2-year degrees, even the bachelor degrees, really what we really try to do is teach people the fundamentals, teach them the ground level things they need to know to be successful in a career path. And I liken it to coaching basketball. What you really try to do is we're the folks who try to teach someone how to pass, how to dribble, how to shoot, how to run a basic offense and a basic defense, and the fundamentals. And then once they get out to your place and you're in the career, in their job, they learn the schemes that you want to run, what kind of offense you want to run, what kind of defense you want to run, and how you want the whole game organized to fit what's going on and make your company organization productive. And I think that apprentices really shorten that runway because they're already with you, they're employed with you, they understand your scheme. But I think it also makes a better student because where we lose students is where they don't have a mental hook to the abstract concepts that sometimes we're trying to teach. So with the apprenticeship process, they have an immediate mental hook, not about abstract concepts, about what we're teaching and how it applies to them out of the gate. And so I think it's mutually beneficial. So I think just from my standpoint, that's what I see. I do want to add that what I started with kind of earlier is that academia and apprenticeships are not mutually exclusive things, and they can go together. And if we have folks that have finished their apprenticeship with the Department of Labor Registered Apprenticeship or any apprenticeship and have a journeyman card, if they will bring that to UA Fort Smith, we will actually reverse credit 24 hours of college credit onto a transcript to get them onto an associate and bachelor's degree. So that's really like giving someone a year's worth of a scholarship, a year's worth of college. So 24 credit hours is a significant chunk when your tuition and fees is north of $200, $250 an hour. So it's a big plus.
Could I add to that?
Yes, please.
Well, so, when you think in terms of apprenticeship, whether it's youth or adult, it's this concept of kind of earning while you're learning as well. And so you're earning revenue, you're earning employment, you're earning some money. So you're not quite having to pay out student loans, tuition fees, perhaps even no debt. And then you can roll that right on into qualification certification. I think that's a great aspect of that because you get all that hands-on training and you get the certification as well.
Very good. Okay, so one more question, and then we're going to open it up for comments and questions from the audience. Can you guys, our industry partners, please talk about opportunities available once the apprenticeship officially ends? And you've talked about that somewhat already, but please follow up a little bit on that.
So I would just say, Ken, that the opportunities that we have are twofold. They're gonna have the opportunity, if they so choose, based on their skill sets, to apply for any position that we are filling and looking externally for. Coming out of our first cohort, we actually had a need for some new positions, some advanced manufacturing technician positions that these individuals, the timing was such that these positions were being filled about the time that these individuals were graduating from high school in the program. And so timing worked out very well. And so that's what they applied for and were awarded based on their skills and qualifications. I envision some of that coming up as well in the future. It could be that we have some industrial maintenance technicians positions available as well. So I think our opportunities are going to be, and it's again, things we're looking to fill externally in the industrial maintenance or advanced manufacturing technician type of arena. But again, our goal is to figure out a way to hire every apprentice that we have. Does that happen? No, not necessarily. And it could be for a variety of reasons. It could be, based on what their desires are. Maybe they want to go to college and become a full-time student. And if they do, that's great. We see a lot of value in that. But if they do, we're going to make sure we kind of keep our hooks in them so that during the summers, during holidays, and then after graduation, they might want to be considered at that point as well.
Thank you, Jason. Lori, anything to add?
No, I don't think anything to add. I think same thing, right? This time I will align with Jason that's our hope, right? We really want to build the skill set which helps everyone within our region. But yeah, we are absolutely hopeful that once the apprenticeship is completed, that we have open positions that these candidates apply for, that we're able to hire right in.
Thank you. Before we start our open questions, I want to pitch over to a friend of mine, colleague down at the chamber, Mr. Stephen Lamb. He's their workforce development guy down there. We like to refer to him as the Tom Selleck of workforce development. So all kidding aside, hello, Mr. Lamb. Thank you for being on today. I noticed you had some maybe some comments in the chat there. Could you kind of tell us a little bit about your thoughts or some questions you may have today? Or
yeah, sure, happy to. With an introduction like that, who would not want to? Yeah, so my name's Stephen Lamb. I work here at the Chamber on workforce development issues, kind of strategic stuff between the university and industry partners and the school district. For me, the perception around apprenticeships that, clearly it's an established model. I think there's, of course, a ton of value for the apprentice. The thing we're really trying to communicate is the value for industries that'll take advantage of these opportunities. And so we view this as kind of a strategic initiative of trying to really integrate apprenticeships throughout our industries in Western Arkansas, kind of providing our industries a direct pipeline of emerging talent. We're doing what we can in partnership with our educators in this region to make sure that when these students come on to your facilities as employees, as apprentices, they bring relevant skill set with them and, a workplace attitude. They're workplace ready candidates. And so we're looking to give you the opportunity to really get a hold of these students early, ingratiate them with the culture of your workplace, and then retain that talent as we move forward. We know we've got to do a better job of capitalizing on the kind of grow your own attitude that people look at entrepreneurship. It's the same thing with our workforce. And so we think apprenticeships are going to be the answer to that in a big way. I've kind of got a question, or at least I'd like our panelists to maybe talk a little bit about, I think they've spoken about maybe the quality of what they've experienced. I'm curious how that compares in your opinions to what you would consider kind of an off the street hire. And then if we could, maybe Amanda or Dr. Warden could talk a little bit more about the candidate pool, what it takes to be a candidate for one of these apprentices. So, our industry partners could have more confidence in, this is not a babysitting internship. These people are coming on your facilities to do work. And so maybe speak to those kind of things, and that might fill in some more blanks.
so I'll start by just pitching back to our industry partners. What do you see versus off the street hires?
They may not have all the skills and abilities when they walk in the door, but they're very far along technically. And when they finish they're ready. So I think they are a viable pool of talent for us to consider, but the interest and the motivation and the desires got to be there as well. So I think we've seen, Stephen can attest to this, through some of this tool that we're using in the middle schools called U Science to measure aptitude and interest in careers such as manufacturing, healthcare, and IT. The aptitude's there. What we've got to do a better job of is getting kids interested in middle school, so by the time they get to high school, that they're already thinking about these kind of opportunities, whether it be at WOTC or the soon-to-be Peak Innovation Center. So again, assuming that the interest is there with current students, the aptitude is, and giving them that real-world experience is making them viable candidates for our opportunities if they want it. Again, some of the apprentices that we had last year that didn't apply for our full-time opportunity or part-time opportunities just because they went away. You know, they wanted to go off and be a college student and explore some other opportunities. And our hope is, how do we stay connected to them and get them back in future years? Thank you.
And I'll pitch over to Amanda and Kendall to talk a little bit about requirements. I would say briefly that our youth apprenticeship is a competitive model, and our adult apprenticeship is a company-sponsored model. So I'll ask Amanda to go first, please.
Sure. So before the students ever take a class with us, they have some academic requirements that we expect them to meet. So whether they're a 10th, 11th, or 12th grade student, they do have to meet a certain GPA requirement, a certain test score requirement before they can enter into our classes. For the youth apprenticeship, they do have to participate at least a year with our program. So if they are, some of them will be 2 years if they started in 10th grade. So they do have to be in one of our programs, either our Regional Workforce Grant or our WOTC program, to be eligible to apply. So it is a competitive process. They do have an application they have to complete. We look at GPA for their college classes. They've already met the entry requirements into our program initially, but for them to be competitive in this program, they have to have at least a 2.5 GPA in their college courses. So the classes that are applicable to what they would be doing in your facility. They do have an application process, an interview process that they have to go through. So you choose the student that you would want to work with. I will say in our last group, we only took half of them. So there's a huge interest of students. I already have students who are first year students asking when they get the opportunity to apply. We did let every student interview last year, but again, we only took about half of them after that process went through. And they also have to, we look at attendance, where they're at. And so kind of what happens is once they do that application, I do a cover page for each company to look at that highlights what classes that they've completed, where they're at in their program. Many of them will complete a technical certificate while they're in this program, while they're in the youth apprenticeship. And many of them are very close to an associate degree. I had several that were a semester out from an associate degree by the time that they finished. So that's kind of how we've modeled our program. It's really about you choosing what talent fits your facility and your culture. So that's back on you. I kind of take the reins of organizing how that works, but when it comes down to who goes where, if they even get an opportunity, that's back on the company.
Thank you, Amanda. Kendall, can you talk a little bit about our process for adult and DOL apprenticeship?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll mention a few things and then I'll let Cameron add to that because he is our primary instructor. So keep in mind, this is an employer-sponsored program. So we're looking for someone that's involved in your organization that you see potential in, that's either in the production or maybe the maintenance area that you believe is a good, solid, long-term candidate. Again, it's a DOL registered program. So in the long term, they're going to need 8,000 hours of on-the-job training. That's 4 years of on-the-job training. And then they'll have 2 years of credit or non-credit instruction here at the university. Cameron, you might add to that what you're looking for in a good student.
Couldn't find the mute button. So typically we have a couple of sources internally within the companies. We have incumbent maintenance workers that are already working, in which case we're able to credit up to 2 years or 4,000 hours of on-the-job training towards their program, which means they take 2 years of classroom and then 2 years of on-the-job, and then they complete it. And then the second option is usually people bringing over from production. And so what we're really looking for is some kind of mechanical or electrical aptitude when you're trying to pick these candidates. I know some of you have requested an email, and I have kind of a company document outlining some possible scenarios. We don't pick the candidates. We leave that up to the companies. But we do offer online testing. We use Amatrol e-learning, and we use Amatrol has some testing options, so you can actually go through there if you want to set them up with a testing solution and have them take all these tests, and it'll tell you the areas they're deficient in and what training modules they should focus on. I hope that answers everything.
Thank you, Cameron. I need to come back. I think I jumped the gun there and ask Lori and Jim about the aptitudes that you see in apprentices versus off the street hires. Get your comments on that.
Jim might be better suited to answer this, but from my standpoint, I would say they are definitely, how do I put this? They're more engaged. They're more open to learning, more excited to learning new things. So for that would be my HR response, but I'm sure Jim would have the more technical response.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm batting 2 for 2. Okay. Yeah, so I'm relatively new to the maintenance realm, but I've been in the factory for 22 years. Recently became the factory maintenance manager. However, having said that, I have seen quite a bit through that time. So Lori, again, she thinks she doesn't have good answers, but she really does. But that you certainly see that difference in the way that those that have been through an apprenticeship type program, they have a different drive, they have a different work ethic. And that, again, that's my personal opinion on what I've seen. So I would always lean more towards hiring someone that's been through a program, because not only do you have the different work ethic, but you know that they've been through a structured process on, the different facets of, maintenance and manufacturing, or whatever it may be, electrical or mechanical. And you can certainly tell that in the people. I think we have 4 people in our factory right now that went through, over the years, we've had 4 people. We've got 2 or 3 now that went through the electrical portion, and we had some that went through the mechanical. So again, just seeing the off the street applicants versus the ones that have been through the apprenticeship program, you can certainly tell a difference.
Thank you, Jim. And just kind of one point, our youth apprenticeship that's competitive, we're using that really for the companies that are involved as a way to spot, identify, and grow young talent, and to recruit people to their company, promote their company to other youth, because if you get the right youth in there, they tell their friends and they tell their friends, and we're just really, a couple years into this, so we're hoping that this blossoms. And our adult apprenticeship is really about you identifying people who have the traits of someone you want to invest in long term, and then working through us to invest and grow that individual, because you already know they're acclimated to your culture, your climate, and all that. I will say that having been involved with incumbent worker talent programs for many years, one of the concerns I've seen from companies, they're afraid, like, well, if I take someone that's really good in our company and I send them to a place where they're going to train with people from other companies, someone's going to look to, headhunt or take my talent. And I can honestly tell you that in the few years we've been involved with it here, and the many years with the institution before, I do not personally know of a single case where that's happened. I think there's more of an overreaction or concern about some of those things. It's typically what we see are people sharing thoughts and ideas, and knowing that the troubles they have in their facility are not germane necessarily just their facility, that they're happening in other places, and that everyone has those gaps and problems, and it helps reinforce and validate what they're trying to do and what they're trying to learn. So I do think that that pollination of different companies, but with like skill gaps, there's also a okay, just to open it up for our last 5 minutes here from the floor. Anybody that has a question from the floor, please take the liberty of unmuting yourself, and 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, now since you didn't do that, I'm going to take the liberty and pick on people that I know. So I'll start with Miss Stephanie Freeman from, I think, Fort Smith Public Schools, if it's the same Stephanie Freeman. Are you out there, Stephanie?
I am. Why are you picking on me?
Because you're so much fun.
How can I help you, sir?
Are there questions or thoughts you have about apprenticeship that you'd like to share this afternoon?
I don't have any questions. My thoughts are dealing with the students. They have such wonderful things to say about their experience. So I just highly encourage other businesses to get involved, because we do have some great kids ready. And like Jason said, they are talented, they're ready to go, and they're just eager for responsibilities like this and opportunities. So that's what I would say, is our kids are ready.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll pick on another one. I've got a colleague on the line from another school up there toward that northwest corner of Arkansas. Tim, are you still on the line? Do you have any comments or thoughts for us today, sir?
Yeah, very interesting about the youth apprenticeship, and you're seeing the same things down there we're seeing up here. Ken, I liked your comments about students getting early involved, because if we walk into a class and say, how many of you like to make $50,000 or $60,000 a year, every hand goes up. And then you say, how many of you like to be an industrial maintenance person? Every hand goes down. So I think it's a mindset too, and I think companies, ABB and Gerber, you're getting a mindset that these factory jobs and these jobs, they aren't the nasty jobs that I probably had when I was in the factory. And I think that's a really good thing. I applaud what you guys are doing down there. Ken says I'm up here, but I actually live in Fort Smith. So Ken, great work.
I'm going to add to what Tim mentioned as well about, every hand goes down. One of the things that we've been able to do with these programs is give these students an opportunity to actually tour some of these facilities. So before they ever complete an application, during their first year, they've already been to 2 different companies to see what the working environment looks like. We're trying really hard to make sure they're connected to our local and regional companies, and that they hear from you directly. So this semester, we're not able to do the tours. We have all the, the restrictions that we're working with, but typically in a semester, these students are out on one of the plant floors just looking. We try to rotate so they see different facilities, different manufacturing processes, but give them a chance to see what that real world looks like.
That's great. That's great, Amanda. I think that getting them in is the big deal. I think that's really important, to get them in and say, this is what it's really like, not what you think it's like.
So on our last minute of the call, guys, I want to appreciate each of you, particularly our panelists. So let's give them, to the reaction button, a big round of applause there. Also, let me just tell you this. If there are things that I or UA Fort Smith can do to be of service to you and your company, whether it's apprenticeship or any other topic, please don't hesitate to contact us. I just put my contact information in the chat, ken.warden@uafs.edu. My team members at UFAS, if you want to drop your information in there, you're welcome to do that. Again, we're here to serve. We appreciate you and all you do. If it wasn't for your viability and prosperity as a company, we wouldn't have a community to maintain and serve. So we do appreciate you for that. I want to close finally by asking Miss Lindsay Trentham with the Chamber to put in a link in the chat box to the activities of the rest of the week for National Manufacturing Week, or I guess it's National Manufacturing Day, Fort Smith Manufacturing Week. So check out the website. There are activities going on the rest of the week. With that said, God bless you. We're ending on time. Yes,
hey,
go.
Ken, let me just add to Lee, and looks like Christy dropped off, but others. So we desperately need more companies to participate in the program. the more companies we get, the more opportunities we can offer collectively, the bigger the pool of students coming to the Peak Innovation Center, WATC, these programs will be. It's kind of that chicken and the egg. So if there's anything we can do to kind of walk you through our learnings, let you hear from our line managers, legal departments, those kind of things, to get more on board, just let us know, because we need every manufacturer in this town taking advantage of this program. It makes it more competitive for all of us, but you know, we always like to say rising tide lifts all boats. And so it, for me, this one's about our region first. We'll still get good talent, but would love to help you guys become participants in the program as well.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with Jason that definitely, if the more of us that are involved, the more likely we are to keep the talent in our region instead of that talent to continue to source outside. So anything that we can do here at Gerber to assist that, we're absolutely on board with that as well.
This is for Jason and Amanda. I know with your youth apprenticeship, some of my apprenticeship classes, if I have any openings, more advanced topics than they're maybe have in some of their credit options, then they're welcome to set in on the classes.
That's great.
Thank you, Cameron. Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate all of our panelists, Jason, Lori, Jim, all. Appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.